Molly is the Director of Buyer Relations, Programming, and Partnerships for Fiere Italiane and Vinitaly.USA. She's also the co-founder and president of Mmmm Enjoy, which is a wine and lifestyle brand. So our three key takeaways and what we're really excited to learn from you, Molly. First, what can exhibitors expect from this year's Vinitaly.USA? Second, what can buyers expect from this year's trade show? And third, how the Vinitaly.USA team is working to keep trade relations strong between the US and Italian wine industries. Welcome to Masterclass US Wine Market with me, Barbara Fitzgerald. In this show, we'll break down the complexities of selling wine in the US by discussing the relevant issues of today with experts from around the globe. Each episode serves up three key insights to help elevate your winery's presence in the US market. So grab a pen and paper and let's pave the way for your success in the US. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Masterclass US Wine Market. Today, I am really excited to welcome Molly Matelski to the show. Molly is the Director of Buyer Relations, Programming, and Partnerships for Fiere Italiane and Vinitaly.USA. She's also the co-founder and president of Mmmm Enjoy, which is a wine and lifestyle brand. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Molly. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we dive into today's discussion, can you tell us a little bit more about your background, Molly, and how you came to work in the wine business?
So it's quite a long journey. I've been in the hospitality field for most of my life. In fact, it started as when I was 16, I was a host at a local steakhouse. I do feel that really ignited my passion for hospitality, for hosting people. I always had it kind of inside of me, and that's probably why eventually I connected so strongly with the Italian culture and individuals that I met. That being said, I went to culinary school at Johnson & Wales University, got an associate's in culinary arts, a bachelor's in food service management, then went on to work for Marriott, helping with restaurant openings and managed franchise conversions in underperforming hotels for over 20 hotels nationwide. Then got a little burnt out on the travel and then living out of a suitcase. So I chose to make roots in Chicago. I had done an assignment at the JW downtown. It had been September, so of course I fell in love with Chicago, the beautiful weather, the lake, the river. But more than that, it was the Midwest hospitality, and I loved the culinary and just food and beverage scene as a whole. So I worked for Marriott for another year, then went to Weingarten and Hammonds as an assistant general manager of a hotel. Really enjoyed that experience as well, but then wanted to get downtown. So I opened the restaurants in the Conrad in downtown Chicago. After that time, it was about 10 years so that I'd been in the hotel industry with, 16 to 18-hour days, 6 days a week. Was a little burnt out. So my partner, who's Italian, said, why don't you take a little breather, go to Italy, take some Italian lessons, and kind of figure out maybe a more sustainable path forward. In the meantime, I was reached out to by the Italian American Chamber of Commerce Midwest. They had been needing some support with project work. And actually one of my first assignments was to take buyers to Vinitaly in Verona. So that was my first introduction to the Vinitaly brand. I mean, I had heard about it before, but had never been. And that really opened my eyes to the diversity of Italian wine. Prior to that, I admit I had been more of a French wine person. And then I realized, oh, wow, I've only seen, a small fraction of what's available. So continued to do project work with them. Also did project work with our import and distribution company. That's whenever we decided to start our own wine brand because we didn't see another one out there like it, which really had an unpretentious and colorful feel to it, trying to reach new demographics. And then when Vinitaly decided to move to the US and there was an opportunity, I raised my hand and really advocated because I had been listening to buyers for the past several years, telling me what did they like, what did they want to see in the US, and how could we support them. So then I asked if I could be in charge of buyer relations programming and eventually that also added in partnerships as well because they tend to go hand in hand.
What an amazing path. I guess Italian wine really called to you, the siren's song.
Yes. And it's not just the wines themselves, it's the whole culture around it, I feel like, and it's high quality generations. It's an agricultural product as well, so you're really impacting so many different individuals in being in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, you do some pretty fantastic work and were instrumental in kind of bringing even Vinitaly USA in its successful form to Chicago. So we're really excited to have you here today so we can talk about the trade show here in the US. So our three key takeaways and what we're really excited to learn from you, Molly. First, what can exhibitors expect from this year's Vinitaly USA? Second, what can buyers expect from this year's trade show? And third, how the Vinitaly USA team is working to keep trade relations strong between the US and Italian wine industries. So let's kind of set the stage a little bit first. Can you tell us about the energy you're feeling as we approach Vinitaly USA this fall? What's different about this year? What's exciting to you?
Absolutely. So, obviously, this has been a very dynamic year. We've faced a number of challenges and uncertainty, whether it's through tariffs, changing buying habits, economic pressures. We understand that all of our stakeholders are in a critical moment. And so, we want to acknowledge that and make sure that everything that we do at Vinitaly is geared towards productive solutions, productive business, something that everyone leaves and feels that they have come out of it feeling stronger and more empowered to be successful in this business. That being said, we are very excited and we have many new things that we will talk about that we have added to the lineup to ensure that those 2 days, which, it's October 5th and 6th, that was also a very strategic choice, the beginning of O&D, also late enough that most people have finished through the peak of harvest. But also our buyers, last year as well, they said, we prefer to be a little bit earlier in October because by the end of it, it's, we're already full-fledged holiday planning. So we listen to them. And so we're really excited to be bringing a lot of solutions to the table.
That's amazing because that's what we need right now, right? We need proactive strategies and help working through those. So let's say for somebody who hasn't been to Vinitaly USA before, can you paint a picture of what they'll walk into in Chicago?
Absolutely. So we will be back at Navy Pier, centrally located location in Chicago, which we're excited about. When guests arrive into the expo floor, we have a very strategic layout in which, onto the left, they have our importer partners like Weinbo or Volio or Terlato. So it's very easy for them to engage with current suppliers or those that are already in market. Additionally, we have about 10 regions, which will each have spaces as well, so that you get a little bit of a tour of Italy and see some of the aspects that terroir and specific regions have in terms of their energy. We do also still have our signature lounge style booths. That is a key element that both our producers and buyers expressed was very productive for them the last 2 years. Our goal is not to just be a walk around tasting. It is really to sit down, have productive meetings that lead to business decisions and long-term relationships. On top of that, Italian Trade Agency remains one of our strongest partners. We are very appreciative of Matteo Sopas' support of us, and so they will bring around 50 brands as well. It's a great opportunity for maybe smaller brands or those that are emerging that are looking to get into the U.S. may not have the financial ability by themselves to be supported through the Italian Trade Agency Pavilion. Additionally, we have the Gamba Rosso Tre Bicchieri walk around tasting. That went really well last year. This year, we will also have a decanter DWWA awards winning bar. And then excitingly, we have wine to wine being added. So that will be on the floor. It's first time in 10 years that it has been brought out of Verona. So we're really excited to have more people be able to experience that. Stevie Kim and her team have done an excellent job of bringing that to life. And then we will have a small bar and mixology area as well, which offers a way to engage with beverage culture in a new way. And then upstairs is where we will have some more of the enclosed panel discussions, more master classes, programming, and that's also where the VIA Academy will also be held.
You're really bringing all factions of the world of Italian wine to Chicago with Vinitaly USA and Wine to Wine and Vinitaly International Academy. So that's really exciting.
We were confident going into it last year with our teams, with the collaborations that we had, that it would be a success. However, we were a bit blown away by the positive response that we have had. And so that has allowed us to then grow this year, probably much stronger than even we had anticipated. So we're really excited to make a one-stop shop here in Chicago.
Yeah, that's great. That's so great. Well, let's shift a little bit now and look kind of specifically at exhibitors. So what is their experience kind of looking like this year? Are there any new features or formats that you're really particularly excited about?
Yes, so our matchmaking app is something that was really important to us, having an effective matchmaking ability so that producers can reach out to buyers that are actually interested in their products and vice versa was really important. And so that was successful last year. We're building on that we've been working for months with our developers to just increase all of the filters and the capabilities of that matchmaking piece, as well as being able to manage your schedule, being able to upload sell sheets, product information, even your profile as well, because if you are planning meetings ahead of time, it's great to be able to feel already connected with them before they step in the door. And then we are also hosting a number of webinars. We're working with our regions and like the Italian Trade Agency to host webinars for, helping them understand what is expected to get into the market, how to be successful at Vinitaly.USA and other related webinars to ensure that once they've invested this money, once they're coming here, they feel that they really were adequately prepared, which is really important also for our buyers. They want to interact with producers who are prepared and ready to talk business. As I indicated before, having those imported areas separated from the non-imported product, it makes that buyer experience more cohesive, allowing for more productive exchanges.
This sounds really great. So you guys are really focusing on helping them kind of really see some ROI here, giving them the opportunity to show up with strategy and all the pieces in place to maximize what they're putting into it, because we know it's difficult to make the trip from Italy to the US.
Absolutely. We understand time is our biggest currency, so time alone is an investment. Then there's, the cost of the lounges themselves. We take care of all of the setup, so it's really meant to be a plug and play, so that especially since they aren't in Italy where maybe they could have more ability to create, their own lounge, this creates a nice cohesive space that's ready for them. And then of course we understand that it's also an investment as they, for travel costs, et cetera. So we want to make sure that they really get that ROI when they come to the Vinitaly.USA.
That's so great. And are you seeing any interesting trends in who's exhibiting or what they're featuring?
Yes, so it's been really exciting to see the next generation of producers coming into play. So we have a number of legacy brands that now, the younger generation have taken the helm and now are adding in their own stamp while also maintaining the legacy of that brand. So a number of those brands will be present. It's actually Next Gen is one of our key focus points this year, also in our programming. So we'll be highlighting them in unique ways through our panels and tastings. Women-led brands continues to grow, which myself as leading the Women in Wine and Spirits initiatives is really exciting to see. And so we'll continue to support those individuals. And of course, sustainability continues to gain traction, not just in farming practices, but also in bottle weight and packaging and transportation. So that will continue to be a strong initiative.
That's great. Yeah. To kind of recap, the three kind of really exciting focuses are next generation, women in wine and spirits, and sustainability across the value chain.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, do you have any advice that you want to give exhibitors who really want to maximize their impact?
Absolutely. So, as indicated, we're investing a lot into ensuring that we set the stage for our producers to be successful. However, at the end of the day, it is up to those producers to see that through. So, we say to engage early, use the app early, set up your profile completely, know your numbers, do your research, which markets are you looking to get into? Do you understand what a franchise versus a non-franchise state is? Do you understand what a control state is? Do you want to operate in one of those or maybe not? So having all of that information ready, what is your production size? What are your different prices? All of these things are very important. Again, our buyers, they lead very busy schedules. And of course, connecting is highly important to them. And that's like what tells a story. But at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. And it is an important piece.
Yeah. And the app is launched and ready to go as of now, right? So producers can get going immediately.
Not just yet. So, next week we will be releasing ticket sales. And then, we try not to do it too early just because then there's also a disconnect a little bit. So we kind of work with our developers who have done many of these types of events. When is the ideal launch pad? However, back end piece of it for them to provide us all the information we provide many months in advance. So they already know what information we need because we help to also upload some of that information.
Okay, great. And just to note for our listeners, we're recording this on July 23rd. So, excuse me, June 23rd. Whew, don't worry, I didn't just take a month off your calendar.
July 1st is anticipated.
Okay, July 1st. Good to know. Well, let's shift a little bit now to look at the buyers coming. So, from a buyer's perspective, why is this, kind of a must attend?
Absolutely. So first, I would say that there are a lot of congruencies between what some of the benefits are for exhibitors as well as buyers. A lot of times the goals are very similar. And so our objective is to bring those two together. And so coming from Vinitaly, we wanted to bring a lot of aspects that people enjoyed, but also understanding, again, as we discussed, time is of the essence. So 2-day expo located in Chicago. So if you're coming from California, from New York, or even Toronto or Mexico City, it's an easy commute, and we really are working to make the most efficient use of your time. The matchmaking app, again, we're trying to create the most efficient use of finding the producers that you are most interested in. That helps to manage your schedule most effectively. And then, of course, there is the masterclasses in programming. It's an opportunity to gain education, but also to network with other individuals. We have key moments, whether it's in after hours or during the fair. Many of our buyers get most excited about seeing top industry leaders from throughout the US and Italy and North America. And then we work to really facilitate those as well. So outside of the app, our goal is to support our buyers in anything we can. So I'm often reached out to by buyers saying they're looking for something specific. And so we try to help create meaningful engagements with producers that they're looking for.
That's so great. You just mentioned that you're trying to help them find what they're looking for, but are you also helping them to maybe discover what they didn't know they needed? Some of the interesting things that they might not find elsewhere?
Absolutely. And we do that in a couple ways. So obviously the discovery zone for the non-imported products, we definitely, try to help people discover those. We do have certain filters, whether it is women or diversity owned or led, or if it's the next gen or these kinds of things, just allowing people to discover them also and be kind of notified through the app before they arrive, and then through us as well. Again, we have built a lot of trust with our buyers that they do come to us for advice, and we really work to try and connect the right people with each other. Our objective is not quantity, it is quality. So that's really important for us. And then discovery also through our master classes. So we have a number of regions as well as partners that will be doing very interesting master classes. And that's often the opportunity that our partners take to introduce them to, whether it's a new varietal or it's, in a different expression that they may not be familiar with. Those are exciting ways to really get to know new products.
Definitely. Do you have any kind of educational programming that you're willing to announce yet? What are some of the focuses of the master classes or the guided experiences?
We do have a few that I can disclose. So one of the master classes, Hobie Wedler.
Yeah.
Probably are familiar with him. We're really excited for him to lead one of our master classes, a Tasting in the Dark experience. He's also has a doctorate in chemistry. So I think that will be quite an interesting experience for those that are able to attend it. We also will have a wine and music pairing with Serafin Alvarado. He is the head of wine education for Southern, and he actually got into wine originally through the lens of music. So we understand that people engage with wine or other products through different sensory experiences. So we're trying to meet them where they're at and explore wine in new ways. And then we will also be doing a wine and spirits crossover. So examining each of those dynamic fields that are often seen in kind of segregated, that we want to bring them more together, both the industry individuals who are a part of them, but also learning from those elements. So what can wine professionals learn from the spirits industry and vice versa? We think that there's a lot of opportunity there, especially as we're looking to reach newer generations, newer audiences, or perhaps those that are just getting into wine or spirits.
Yeah, it's so great to discover the synergies of those because they're often, as you said, kind of in conversation as being in competition with one another. You've spoken to this a little bit already, but the Italian wine does have a sometimes overwhelming volume of options. So is there anything else that you're doing to help buyers kind of navigate strategically the best discoveries for them?
Yes. So, I think part of that is how we connect individuals throughout the value chain. So, understanding both what is in your market now or what can easily be brought to your market, because we know the distributors that can make that happen. And then also, if it's maybe an importer and distributor who have a little bit more capability, what of those new products might help fill their portfolio. We understand that, again, in these times, it can feel a bit risky to bring on new brands, but we do feel that there is still many consumers that are looking for those exciting new opportunities. And we think that it can be very valuable to be at the forefront of those trends and to be bringing in unique opportunities for unique varietals to the U.S. market. So a lot of it is a little bit of one-on-one outside of the app. I don't want to keep going back to the app, but it really is that tool starting point, for individuals. And then we do have a sponsored buyer program that we do even more in-depth support for some of our top buyers who are coming in, make sure that their experience is seamless, and we have a dedicated support team for them.
So it sounds like you guys on all sides, the supplier side and the buyer side, this is a really supportive experience. So they should make sure on both sides, don't hesitate to reach out, right? If they have questions about how to develop their strategy for the trade show, you guys have so many tools in place to help them with that.
Absolutely. Yes, we have individuals, if you go to our website, you can reach out to us through there, and we have dedicated individuals ready to and excited to answer any of your questions and help guide you to be successful.
Well, let's talk a little bit about our third takeaway, which is kind of keeping trade relations strong. So this landscape is really evolving rapidly. And how is Vinitaly.USA trying to stay, relevant on top of the trade relationship between the US and Italy?
Absolutely. So obviously, we are still a private company, so we're not necessarily making direct choices impact. However, we are connecting with the decision makers at large. So, actually, Stevie Kim did a great job a couple months ago bringing together a roundtable and press conference, which brought together WSWA, the NABI, key importers, as well as key press as well, to discuss important topics and discuss what their members are experiencing and how can we collectively as an industry work together to fight against some of the challenges that we're experiencing. So we continue to want to do that also at Vinitaly.USA. We will have roundtables for that, and it's really an ongoing. Our goal is to be a 365-day-a-year platform, not just a 2-day expo. So that's really important to us. We're constantly talking to all of our stakeholders, our buyers, and our producers of what can we do to support you? What is your biggest pain point? On a weekly basis, I'm talking to many individuals, trying to keep a pulse and trying to see through our connections and through our network, how can we perhaps support them in those ways.
So to that point, what role do you see Vinitaly.USA really playing in the broader conversation about wine's future in America?
We feel that it plays a very strong role in the future of Italian wine. I think it's why so many people are so excited to see this expo coming to life, especially since there really aren't other expos in the US. And we aim to maintain a very strategic and focused platform. Everything revolves around Italian wine and spirits, the Italian culture. And so we're not getting mixed up with other things, so people know what they're coming into, why are they coming to our expo specifically. But we're bringing connection, education, and bringing that forward motion. We're bringing that momentum and that energy and working year round to make sure that we support all of our stakeholders so that they feel like the 2-day expo is a touch point amongst the greater platform over the year. And our goal is not to replace Vinitaly in any way. It's to continue that conversation. So they have that touch point at Vinitaly in Verona in April. And we keep that dialogue going on. And then there's the bigger focus here in October that allows them to then strategize for the following year. And it really just creates a great cycle.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you mentioned also that you're really in conversation often with individuals from both supplier and buyer side. So what are you hearing from them about, what they really want trade shows to provide in 2025 and beyond?
Yes, so I think going back to a lot of the things that we're trying to answer, like I said, the staying laser focused is really important. People want to know what they're coming into. They want to feel like there is a value in it. If they buy a specific product, knowing that they have the location to do that and that everything will be around that, everything will support that, it makes it much easier than, let's say, if we were doing a full wines from all over the world, but we only had 10 wines from every place. Maybe that's not sufficient for someone who is buying Italian wine, or even in their case, if they were buying French wines, it may not make sense for them to come to an expo just to see 10 producers. So that's certainly key. Also, the education piece of it and getting basically the one-stop shop, the connections, bringing all decision makers into one room. And we find it really important not just to bring people from the US, but also bringing those decision makers from Italy so we can get them together and say, these are the challenges on both sides. How can we help solve those? So I think, really maintaining a focus on what are you helping solve for the individuals who you're trying to have attend your expo or fair, and really looking at it like we are as a full year commitment for years to come, and really looking at the longevity and what is the trajectory moving forward.
Yeah. And I think that that's why it's especially exciting that you've created this really holistic environment this year with combining Vinitaly USA with Wine to Wine and with Vinitaly International, because now, as you said, you're really answering all of the questions that along the value chain might have. You're giving them access to buyers or access to suppliers. You're giving them access to education and master classes and business talks, et cetera. And it's very exciting.
Absolutely. And I did forget to mention yet another thing. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. Vinitaly launched Vinitaly Tourism this year in Verona, and it was so successful that we're also adding that to our programming. It's more geared towards travel operators, but there will be pieces of it that are also perhaps relevant to buyers, but we're bringing in that piece of the industry as well. So we're really trying to create like a full 360-degree view of Italian wine and spirit. And of course, agriturismo is becoming more and more important in the industry. People are looking for those experiences when they are traveling. And so that's an additional piece that will be added this year too.
Really exciting because it's already a very powerful sector for Italy and growing still. The amount of people that continuing to engage in wine tourism and that kind of experiential piece. So that's fantastic. If someone is maybe on the fence about attending, or even this is like the first time they're hearing about Vinitaly USA, give them your 60-second elevator pitch. Why should they come?
Yes. So if you work in Italian wine and spirits, or you're curious, maybe you're a buyer of French wines and you're thinking maybe what's missing in my portfolio is those Italian wines. Certainly, this is the place to discover and connect with producers. It is also a very strong effort of ours to bring in as many producers themselves as well. So you get to meet the people behind the products, engage in real conversations, and address the challenges that all of us are facing in this industry, come to collective solutions, and create new contacts. This industry, as with most industries these days, it's all about relationships and who do you know, and the who's who is all going to be here in Chicago in October.
That is so exciting. This is a people industry, and you're doing so much work to build the bridges between people. So thank you for that. But I want to know too, what are you personally most excited for this year's Vinitaly USA? What are you most looking forward to?
Honestly, I am most excited to help all of our stakeholders. The solution model is really important to us. We really take it to heart. As I said, I am a host at heart, and I really want to support those around me. I also say il mio cuore italiano. So I love for people to engage with the industry and hopefully remember why they got into it in the first place. So I get really excited when people walk out after 2 days of such an engaging program and feel super energized, ready to hit the market and feeling more confident and excited for the days ahead.
That sounds amazing. That is the Italian spirit, right? That's hospitality in its finest sense. Well, as we start to wind down here, we like to finish up with what we call our rapid fire quiz, where we ask our guests 3 questions to help our listeners better understand the US market and specifically today's episode. So just try to answer in a couple sentences if you can. But Molly, what is your number 1 tip for mastering the US wine market?
So I'll go back to it. As I said before, do your homework. Really understand what is necessary, how to be successful. There's actually so many tools out there. A lot of our partners, such as the Italian Trade Agency or Chambers of Commerce, they have a lot of resources already online or even through, the Wine to Wine platform. So do your homework and come prepared.
This very, very great and practical advice. Thank you for that. What is something you would have told your younger professional self about selling wine in the US?
So it's not necessarily something that I would tell my younger self, but it's something I tell myself almost every day. As a business owner myself, I have to remind myself that everyone's journey looks different. We are self-funded, we're intentionally growing slowly so that we can work through the market and test different strategies, et cetera. But it can be very difficult to keep those blinders on when you hear people going national and all these exciting, headlines. But I remind myself why I got into the business. And ultimately, it is something that is a passion project for me as well. So I also want to keep it to be something that's exciting and joyful. But also, my strategy is not going to look like anyone else's.
That is very beautiful advice. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. And last, you mentioned that you used to be on the road quite often, and I imagine you still are now too. So do you have like a really practical travel hack you can share for when doing market work?
Yes. So actually, so technically I fly more often than I did then. I think I've done about 40 flights this year. So I have a lot of travel hacks that I've developed. I will say that global entry has been a lifesaver. It's definitely worth the small investment. Always pack a suit in your carry-on, especially when you're traveling to Italy, because unfortunately your luggage will likely get lost often. And clear packing cube is something that I used to think was like overkill, but now it's helped me stay, especially when jumping from one city to the next. And then perhaps I shouldn't say, but if you do have lounge access, to bring a little Ziploc bag because the airplane food is never. I pack a little snacks from the lounge to bring with me and always stay hydrated. Lots of water.
These are very good. It's super practical. I agree with you. You have to maximize the carry-on strategy in case your bag gets lost, or even if you're just bumping around from city to city so much, it's so helpful to just have everything on you.
Absolutely.
Well, Molly, I want to thank you so much for giving us your time today. This has been a really exciting preview for the event in October. And you mentioned tickets are going on sale soon, right, for Vinitaly?
Yes, around July 1st.
Okay, we won't hold you to it, but people should keep in mind, start checking out. One last question. What is the process for getting your ticket to Vinitaly USA?
Absolutely. So we have a few options. So of course, the main one is going to our website, vinitaly.usa.com. You can click on buyer, and then there will be a registration page that you can purchase a ticket. Additionally, if you are a buyer, we do have a select amount of buyer tickets that we do offer through our sponsored buyer program. So you can apply for that. And then eventually Italian Trade Agency will also submit and open up the opportunity for applying through them too.
That's so great. This episode will probably come out actually right around July 1st or maybe a little later. So hopefully everyone's keeping it in mind that they should be looking for their Vinitaly USA tickets.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you again so much for your time, Molly. One final question, actually. How can our listeners connect with you, especially if they have questions about Vinitaly USA?
Absolutely. So as I indicated before, going on to our website, vinitalyusa.com, there is a contact form so they can reach out, and we do check that email every day. So you will get a swift response from us. And so that is the easiest way. However, if there's something specifically related to programmings or you do have more intricate questions about buyers, you're welcome to reach out to me as well. And I can perhaps provide my email separately through LinkedIn or something like that.
So they should reach out to you on LinkedIn with specific questions. Otherwise, the form on vinitaly.usa.com is a great place for them to go.
Absolutely.
Molly, one more time, grazie mille. Thank you again. I'm wishing you the best in the rest of these planning stages, and I will be there in October. So I hope I get to see you and congratulate you on all your incredible work for this event.
Grazie a te. Thank you so much. I could probably talk to you all day, and I'm so excited that you'll be here. So now I'm going to get off the phone and ask you, so what do you want to see? How can I support you?
Well, thank you for that. Well, I will see you in October.
Thank you.
Take care. And that's a wrap for this episode of Masterclass US Wine Market. Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay up to date with the latest industry trends, remember to like, follow, and share our podcast. And if you find value in our conversations, please leave us a review to help others discover the show and grow our community. Stay tuned for new episodes every Monday. Until then, brindiamo il vostro successo.